Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment and instantly wished you could take it back? That feeling, that sting of regret, reminds us of a truth most people overlook. Sometimes silence carries more strength than words. In a world that tells us to speak up, to defend, to argue, and to always have something to say, there is a hidden power in learning when to hold back. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is wisdom in motion. It is the pause that lets you rise above chaos. It is the decision to control yourself when the world tries to control you. And if you can master this, you will gain an edge in life that most people never discover. Think about how many conflicts are fueled, not by actions, but by words thrown carelessly into the air. Arguments spiral because pride takes over, because someone wants the last word. Yet the strongest people, the ones who command true respect, are often those who know when not to respond. They understand that silence speaks louder than any comeback ever could. It communicates self-control, discipline, and focus. It shows that you refuse to let anger or ego decide your future. That is a level of strength few ever reach, but it is a strength you can learn. Silence is not just about avoiding conflict. It's about creating space. Space to think, to listen, to understand. Most people are so busy talking, defending, explaining, that they never truly hear. They miss the wisdom hidden in quiet moments. But if you choose silence, you train yourself to listen deeper, to others, to your own heart, to the voice inside you that already knows what path to take. In those quiet moments, you find clarity that noise can never give you. The world moves fast, and it pressures you to respond instantly. Someone criticizes you, you want to fire back. Someone doubts you, you want to prove them wrong. Someone disrespects you, you want to defend yourself immediately. But what if you didn't? What if you chose patience over reaction? What if you let silence do the talking? Suddenly the power shifts. You are no longer controlled by someone else's words. You are no longer a prisoner of impulse. You become the master of your energy, the guardian of your peace. And here's why this matters. Your future depends on the choices you make in the smallest moments. The words you speak, the battles you choose, the energy you give away, all of it builds the life you are living right now. If you learn the discipline of silence, you start protecting your dreams from unnecessary battles. You start saving your energy for the things that truly matter. And most importantly, you start commanding respect, not through volume, but through presence. People will notice, they will feel your strength without you ever needing to say a word. So listen closely. If you stay with me until the end, you will discover how to use silence not as an escape, but as a weapon. How to use it to heal yourself, to outgrow distractions, and to walk with the unshakable confidence of someone who knows they cannot be shaken. That is the reward waiting for you. The power to stop reacting, to start choosing, and to live with a strength that no one can take away. Silence is a choice, and like every choice in life, it carries consequences. When you choose silence with intention, you step into a space of power most people never access. You stop handing your emotions over to situations that don't deserve them. You stop letting other people's opinions dictate your actions, and in that space, you create the freedom to rise above. The truth is, not every argument is worth fighting. Not every attack deserves your attention. Not every critic needs a reply. When you realize this, you begin to see that your silence protects your energy, your focus, and your future. Think about it. The moments when you lash out, the times you feel compelled to prove yourself, what happens afterward? The anger fades, but the words remain. The regret lingers. You lose time, you lose peace, and sometimes you even lose opportunities. But when you remain silent, you keep your power intact. You hold on to your peace like treasure. That restraint is not weakness. That restraint is leadership. It shows that you are guided by vision, not by ego. And that alone separates you from the crowd, because most people cannot resist the urge to react. Silence also builds mystery. It commands attention. When you stop feeling the need to explain yourself, you stop giving people access to your weaknesses. You don't have to justify your dreams. You don't have to argue about your vision. Let the results speak. Let your growth speak. Let your silence be the proof that your energy is invested in building, not debating. People will notice the difference. They may not understand it at first, but they will feel it. And in a world full of noise, being the one who carries calm creates an unshakable presence. There is also another layer most people overlook. Silence teaches patience. It teaches you to wait, to observe, to let the truth unfold without forcing it. In every situation, patience is power. Rushing to speak, rushing to defend, rushing to argue, that comes from fear. But silence comes from trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your vision, trust that you don't need to fight every battle because your path speaks louder than any words ever could. That kind of trust builds unbreakable confidence, and that confidence makes you unstoppable. But understand this clearly, silence is not about hiding. It's not about suppressing your voice. It's about timing. It's about wisdom. It's about knowing that words once spoken cannot be taken back and therefore must be used with precision. The person who speaks only when it matters is the person everyone listens to. The voice that breaks the silence after patience carries weight because people know it is not careless. It is deliberate. And that is how leaders are made. Not by speaking the most, but by speaking with purpose. This is the gift waiting for you when you learn to master silence. You will stop wasting energy on distractions. You will stop fighting battles that don't matter. You will stop giving power to people who never deserved it. Instead, you will channel all of that energy into growth, into discipline, into building something greater. And the world will feel it. They will feel it in the calm you carry, in the respect you command, in the quiet strength that cannot be shaken. That is the true power of silence. It transforms you into someone who no longer reacts to life you created. When you begin to live with the strength of silence, you also begin to understand the value of your inner voice. The world is filled with noise, opinions from strangers, judgments from friends, endless chatter from social media, constant pressure to speak and respond. That noise can drown out your own truth if you let it. But when you choose silence, you clear away the distractions, you make space to hear yourself, and in that quiet space, you discover answers you have been searching for all along. The guidance you need is already within you, but you can only hear it when you stop letting the world speak louder than your own soul. This is why silence is more than just restraint. It is a form of alignment. It aligns you with your values, your vision, and your goals. It forces you to slow down and ask yourself, does this reaction serve me? Does this argument move me closer to my purpose? Does this conversation deserve my energy? Or is it stealing from my future? Most people never pause to ask these questions. They live in reaction, trapped in cycles of defending, explaining, and fighting battles that take them nowhere. But when you choose silence, you step out of the cycle. You start making decisions from clarity instead of emotion. That is how you move with purpose. There's also strength in learning that silence can be louder than any argument. When someone doubts you, silence lets your results do the talking. When someone criticizes you, silence proves that their words cannot shake your foundation. When someone underestimates you, silence allows your growth to become undeniable. Words may win temporary battles, but results win wars. And silence gives you the discipline to focus on results instead of wasting energy proving yourself to people who may never believe in you anyway. That is the freedom silence gives you. The freedom to stop seeking validation and start creating transformation. Psychologists say that most conflicts escalate because people feel unheard. But here is the truth. You don't need to fight to be heard. You don't need to shout to be respected. Respect comes from consistency, from action, from living your truth so clearly that people cannot ignore it. Silence supports this. It teaches you that your worth is not found in someone else's opinion, but in the life you are building every single day. And when you know your worth, you no longer feel the urge to prove it. You no longer fall into the trap of endless debates that lead nowhere. Instead, you conserve your energy for growth. You let your discipline speak, your work speak, your transformation speak. Imagine living with that level of control. Imagine waking up each day no longer feeling drained by arguments, no longer wasting hours defending yourself, no longer handing your energy to negativity. Imagine how much more you could accomplish if you use that energy to build, to create, to focus on the life you want. This is not imagination. It is a reality that becomes yours the moment you embrace silence as a tool, not a weakness. The calm you carry will become your strength. The quiet you choose will become your foundation, and people will see it. They will see that you are not distracted by noise, that you move with purpose, that you walk with a confidence that doesn't need to shout. That is how silence transforms you into someone unstoppable. Silence is discipline in its purest form. It is the ability to master yourself when every part of you wants to react, when your emotions beg for release, when your ego demands to be heard. To stay quiet in those moments is not easy. It requires strength. It requires self-control. And that is why silence builds character. Every time you choose not to react, you sharpen your willpower. Every time you hold back unnecessary words, you strengthen your focus. And over time, that discipline becomes a shield that protects you from distraction, from regret, from the endless cycle of giving power to things that do not matter. This discipline spills into every part of your life. When you master silence, you also master patience. You stop rushing decisions just to satisfy your impulses. You learn to pause, to reflect, to wait for the right moment. That pause changes everything. It gives you the clarity to make better choices, the wisdom to see the bigger picture, and the courage to walk away from situations that would have trapped you in the past. In a world that glorifies speed, choosing silence slows you down just enough to see clearly. And clarity is power. With clarity, you stop chasing everything and start building what actually matters. There's another truth you need to understand. Silence is not only about holding back words, it is about mastering energy. Every word you speak carries energy. Every reaction costs you something. Most people waste their energy proving themselves, fighting arguments, and defending against opinions that mean nothing. That wasted energy could have been invested into growth, into building, into becoming. But silence allows you to redirect that energy inward. It keeps you fueled for the battles that actually matter. It ensures that when you do speak, your words are aligned with your vision and backed by the power of discipline. That is why silence is never empty. It is full of strength, full of intention, full of potential. When you carry silence with you, people notice. They see that you are not easily provoked, not easily shaken, not easily distracted. That composure builds respect. Respect is not earned by shouting louder than everyone else. Respect is earned by demonstrating control when others lose theirs. Respect is earned by standing firm in your truth without needing to explain it to anyone. Silence gives you that respect because it shows that you are unmovable. And when people realize they cannot control your reactions, they begin to see you as someone who is truly powerful. But the greatest impact of silence happens inside of you. When you stop filling every space with words, you create room for growth. You start hearing your own thoughts with clarity. You start understanding your emotions instead of being controlled by them. You start building a relationship with yourself that is rooted in trust and strength. And once you master that inner relationship, no outside force can break you. You no longer need validation because you validate yourself. You no longer need to prove your worth because you know your worth. That is the transformation silence brings. It shapes you into someone who no longer wastes energy on noise, but channels everything into growth, purpose, and unstoppable forward movement. Silence is a form of power few truly understand. It is not the absence of communication. It is the presence of control. It is the choice to conserve your energy, to protect your peace, to rise above the chaos that drags most people down. When you speak without thinking, when you react without control, you give away your power. You hand over your influence to circumstances and to people who have no stake in your growth. But when you practice silence, you reclaim that power. You decide what deserves your energy, what deserves your focus, and what deserves your voice. That is how leaders are made, by knowing when to speak and when to stand firm in quiet confidence. The strength of silence also lies in its ability to reveal truth. When you stop reacting impulsively, when you stop filling every moment with noise, the world begins to show you what really matters. You start to see who is supportive and who is draining. You start to understand what goals are worth your effort and which distractions are holding you back. Silence acts like a filter. It strips away the unnecessary, leaving only clarity. And clarity allows you to move with precision. It allows you to channel your energy into action that aligns with your purpose, not into battles that diminish it. That is the invisible power that silence gives you, the ability to see clearly and act decisively. Silence also teaches resilience. When others provoke, when criticism comes, when challenges arise, staying silent forces you to endure without losing yourself. Every unspoken word, every moment you resist reacting, strengthens your mind and your spirit. You develop an inner armor that no insult, no setback, and no doubt can penetrate. And as you grow stronger in this discipline, you begin to realize that the world will test you constantly. But your response, your silence, can make you untouchable. Resilience born from silence becomes a force that shapes your life, giving you the ability to stay focused on your path, no matter the storms around you. Another crucial aspect of silence is its effect on relationships and influence. When you listen more than you speak, you gain insight that most people miss. You learn not just what is said, but what is meant. You understand motivations, intentions, and hidden truths. That knowledge gives you an advantage because it allows you to respond with wisdom rather than emotion. People are drawn to those who listen deeply. They trust those who respond thoughtfully. And when you wield silence strategically, your words carry more weight, your presence commands attention, and your influence grows exponentially. That is how silence transforms ordinary interactions into moments of power. The most profound change, however, happens within yourself. Silence allows you to connect with your purpose at a level few ever reach. It forces you to confront your fears, your doubts, and your insecurities without distraction. It gives you the space to understand who you truly are and who you want to become. That self-awareness is a catalyst for transformation. Once you embrace the discipline of silence, you stop reacting to life's chaos and start designing your life with intention. Your energy, your focus, your voice all become tools for growth, achievement, and unstoppable forward motion. Silence is not just a choice. It is the foundation of the life you are meant to build. The mastery of silence is not about avoiding life. It is about commanding it. Every word you speak carries weight, and every reaction you give has consequences. Most people throw their words and emotions into the world carelessly, letting anger, fear, and insecurity dictate their actions. They wake up exhausted from battles they didn't need to fight. But when you learn the power of silence, you take control of your energy. You stop giving life away to arguments, distractions, and people who drain your spirit. You conserve your strength for the moments that matter, the opportunities that move you forward, and the goals that define your legacy. Silence is also a test of courage. It takes courage to resist the urge to respond, to stay calm when provoked, to remain composed when the world expects you to react. Many people equate courage with confrontation, but true courage is found in restraint. It is found in the moments when you choose thoughtfulness over impulse, patience over anger, and wisdom over pride. Every time you choose silence, you prove to yourself that your strength is internal, that your confidence is not dependent on recognition, and that your focus cannot be shaken by the opinions of others. That courage becomes a shield that protects your peace and amplifies your presence in ways words never could. Another truth about silence is that it amplifies focus. The less time you spend reacting, the more time you have to build. Every unnecessary conversation avoided, every argument unengaged, every validation you refuse to seek adds energy to your purpose. That energy becomes fuel for action, progress, and growth. You start to see the difference between temporary distractions and lasting results. Silence is not emptiness, it is concentration. It allows you to see clearly, act decisively, and create impact without spreading yourself thin. The person who masters this knows that success is measured by what is built, not by what is said. Silence also deepens your connection to yourself. The more you practice it, the more you learn to listen to your own intuition, to understand your emotions, and to identify your true priorities. Life will always pull at you with noise, but silence gives you the clarity to filter the unnecessary from the essential. It is in those quiet moments that you uncover your vision, your values, and the path that aligns with who you are meant to become. Without this connection, life feels chaotic, driven by reactions rather than intention. With it, every step you take is deliberate, and every decision strengthens the foundation of your future. Finally, silence builds unshakable respect. People are drawn to those who do not react to every provocation, who do not fight every battle, and who carry themselves with calm authority. That respect is not demanded, it is earned. It grows naturally when your presence alone communicates discipline, self-control, and purpose. Silence allows your actions to speak louder than words, letting your results and integrity define you. When you master this, you no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. Your focus, your energy, and your determination become your statement. That is the transformative power of silence. It turns restraint into strength, patience into influence, and presence into unstoppable force. Every moment you resist the urge to react, you are shaping a version of yourself that is untouchable. Silence is the discipline that transforms impulsive energy into intentional action. It is the difference between losing control and mastering it. Most people speak to be heard, to defend themselves, to justify their existence. But the person who understands silence speaks only when it matters. Every word carries weight. Every action has purpose. That is the distinction between living passively and living with mastery. Silence allows you to focus on what truly moves the needle, to invest your energy where it produces results, and to stop wasting it on fleeting battles that leave no lasting impact. The power of silence is also rooted in perception. People are constantly testing boundaries, looking for reactions, seeking to gauge your strength through provocation. The louder you respond, the more power you give them. The quieter you remain, the more unshakable you appear. Silence communicates confidence without arrogance, authority without aggression. It sends a signal that you are not controlled by the noise around you, that your energy is guarded, and that your focus is unbreakable. When others realize their words cannot destabilize you, their respect for you grows automatically. This is influence without effort, strength without struggle, and leadership without confrontation. Silence gives you the ability to observe with precision. When you stop speaking just to be heard, you start listening to what really matters. You notice patterns in behavior, hidden motives, and truths that go unspoken. You begin to understand the world and the people around you at a deeper level. That understanding becomes a strategic advantage. It allows you to act decisively when the moment calls for it. It allows you to invest in the relationships, opportunities, and decisions that align with your goals. Silence sharpens your perception and strengthens your instincts. It trains you to respond with wisdom, not reaction. The inner transformation that comes with silence is profound. As you practice restraint, you cultivate patience, clarity, and self-awareness. You begin to recognize that the energy you spend reacting could instead be building your future. You see clearly where your time, focus, and effort are truly valuable. Every unspoken word becomes a deliberate choice, and every deliberate choice becomes a step toward mastery. You start to measure your growth not by how loudly you can defend yourself, but by the discipline you maintain, the progress you make, and the calm authority you carry in every situation. Silence also unlocks freedom. The freedom to move through life without being dictated by the opinions, expectations, and judgments of others. The freedom to invest in what truly matters rather than being dragged into conflicts that consume your energy. The freedom to let your actions, not your words, define your impact. When you master silence, you discover that you are not powerless, you are potent, you are not constrained, you are in control. You are not defined by external noise, you are defined by your purpose, your discipline, and your unwavering commitment to growth. Silence becomes the foundation of a life lived with intentionality, influence, and unstoppable forward momentum. Silence is the ultimate form of control over yourself and your life. It allows you to decide which battles are worth your attention and which are distractions you can ignore. Most people spend their lives reacting to criticism, reacting to provocation, reacting to fear, and in doing so, they surrender their power. Every reaction costs energy, every argument steals focus, and every defensive word diminishes strength. But when you embrace silence, you reclaim your energy, you reclaim your focus, and you reclaim your life. You stop being a participant in chaos and start being the architect of your destiny. Silence is also the foundation of true wisdom. When you resist the urge to speak, you give yourself time to think, to reflect, and to understand. You begin to notice patterns that others miss, to see truths hidden behind words, and to make decisions rooted in clarity rather than impulse. Wisdom is not measured by how much you say, it is measured by how much you understand and how deliberately you act. Every moment of quiet strengthens your judgment, sharpens your perception, and allows you to respond with precision when action is required. That is the strength that separates those who drift through life from those who command it. Mastering silence also transforms your presence. People are naturally drawn to those who are calm, composed, and intentional. Your quiet confidence becomes magnetic. Your restraint communicates more than words ever could. When others see that their attempts to provoke, manipulate, or distract you fail, they recognize a strength that cannot be undermined. That recognition builds respect, it builds influence, it builds authority. And all of it emerges not from what you say, but from what you choose not to say. The person who speaks with intention carries power. The person who reacts without control gives it away. There is a psychological shift that happens when you practice silence consistently. You stop seeking validation from others because you no longer need to justify your worth. You stop proving yourself because your results, your discipline, and your presence speak louder than words. Every energy-draining argument avoided, every unnecessary reaction withheld becomes fuel for your growth, focus, and success. Your life becomes guided by purpose rather than distraction. Your actions gain clarity, your vision sharpens, and with each passing day, the habit of silence turns into mastery, a mastery over your emotions, your environment, and ultimately, your future. The freedom that silence creates cannot be overstated. When you stop reacting to every stimulus, you stop being a prisoner of others' expectations. You free your mind to focus on what truly matters, your goals, your purpose, and your growth. You reclaim control over your energy, your attention, and your life. Silence is not emptiness, it is empowerment. It transforms restraint into strength, observation into insight, and patience into unstoppable momentum. When you commit to it, you discover that your power does not come from being louder than the world. It comes from being deliberate, disciplined, and unshakable. Silence becomes the invisible force that drives your transformation, the foundation upon which you build a life of influence, purpose, and unstoppable forward motion. Silence is not the absence of strength. It is its manifestation. It is the quiet armor that protects you from distractions, manipulations, and unnecessary conflict. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you assert control over your life. Most people spend their energy proving themselves to those who will never value it, arguing with voices that do not matter, defending against attacks that have no impact on their destiny. But silence shifts that energy inward. It allows you to focus on building, on creating, on growing into the person you are meant to become. The world will always try to pull you into chaos, but the person who masters silence remains unshakable, grounded in purpose, and unstoppable in motion. When you choose silence, you also choose clarity. Without the constant noise of reaction, your mind becomes sharper, your focus more precise, and your perception deeper. You start to notice things others overlook, the subtle patterns in behavior, the hidden intentions behind words, the opportunities that appear only to those paying attention. Clarity is the currency of success. Those who react impulsively never see the full picture, never make deliberate moves, and often waste their energy on battles that produce no result. Silence is the gateway to insight, allowing you to act with intention and authority, turning observation into action and restraint into power. Silence is a form of inner strength that builds resilience. The world will test you constantly through criticism, provocation, setbacks, and challenges. Your reaction can either give away your power or fortify it. Each moment you choose restraint, you are reinforcing your ability to endure without losing yourself. You are training your mind to remain calm when others are chaotic, to remain focused when others are distracted, and to remain grounded when others are shaken. That resilience becomes invisible armor, a strength that is noticed, respected, and feared without a single word being spoken. It is a quiet mastery that gives you control over your life in ways loud actions never could. Silence also amplifies your influence. People are naturally drawn to those who listen more than they speak, who respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, and who carry themselves with calm authority. When your words are measured and intentional, they carry weight. When your actions are deliberate, they command attention. Influence grows not from being the loudest voice in the room, but from being the one who acts with precision, patience, and purpose. Silence teaches that the less you speak without necessity, the more your voice matters when it finally emerges. That is the subtle power that changes how the world perceives you and how your presence shapes it. Finally, silence is the key to freedom. Freedom from the opinions of others, freedom from distraction, freedom from unnecessary conflict. When you stop reacting to every stimulus, you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your life. You begin to see clearly what matters and what does not. You invest your time in what builds your future and conserve your strength for what produces real results. Silence is not emptiness, it is empowerment. It transforms restraint into strength, observation into wisdom, and patience into unstoppable forward momentum. When you embrace silence, you step into a life defined by clarity, purpose, and unstoppable growth, and nothing can move you from that path. Silence is a discipline that transforms chaos into clarity. The world will always push you to react, to defend, to explain, to justify. It thrives on noise, conflict, and distraction. Most people fall into its trap, wasting energy on arguments that yield nothing, reacting to opinions that hold no weight, and letting the constant chatter pull them away from their purpose. But when you choose silence, you step out of that cycle. You reclaim your energy, you reclaim your focus, you reclaim your life. Every moment you pause instead of reacting, you assert control over your emotions, your actions, and your destiny. That control is power, and it cannot be taken from you by anyone. Silence is also the key to understanding. When you stop speaking just to be heard, you begin to listen, not only to others, but to yourself. You hear the subtle cues, the hidden motives, the truths that go unspoken. You begin to recognize which relationships are draining and which are elevating. You start to see which opportunities are real and which are distractions. That understanding gives you an edge. It allows you to act with precision, to invest your energy where it matters, and to move through life with deliberate intention. Silence turns observation into insight and insight into power. The discipline of silence builds resilience in ways that words cannot. When criticism comes, when provocation appears, when setbacks hit, the person who has mastered silence does not react impulsively. They do not hand their power to fear, anger, or ego. They endure, they process, they respond with measured action. Every unspoken word, every controlled reaction reinforces strength. It trains the mind and the spirit to withstand pressure without breaking. Resilience born from silence becomes an invisible shield, protecting you from distractions, unnecessary battles, and energy-draining conflict. It is a quiet mastery that shapes the person you are becoming. Silence magnifies influence. People notice those who speak less but with weight. They respect those who respond with intention rather than impulse. Influence is not gained by being the loudest voice. It is earned by demonstrating control, consistency, and wisdom. When your words are scarce but precise, they carry authority. When your actions are deliberate, they command attention. Silence allows you to hold your energy, focus your mind, and direct your life with strategy. That is the subtle power that transforms perception, earns respect, and builds leadership without confrontation. At the core of silence lies freedom, the freedom to live life on your terms, free from the opinions, expectations, and chaos of others. When you stop reacting to every stimulus, you reclaim your energy and your focus. You begin to invest in what truly matters, your growth, your goals, and your purpose. Silence is not emptiness, it is empowerment. It transforms restraint into strength, observation into wisdom, patience into action, and focus into unstoppable momentum. The person who embraces silence no longer drifts with the world, they move intentionally, building a life defined by clarity, discipline, and unshakable forward progress. The strength of silence is the strength of self-mastery, and self-mastery is the foundation of an extraordinary life. Silence is the ultimate tool for mastering yourself. Every moment you resist the urge to react, every instance you hold your tongue instead of giving in to impulse, you are shaping a mind and a spirit that cannot be shaken. The world will constantly provoke, distract, and challenge you. It will demand that you justify yourself, defend your choices, and prove your worth. Most people fall into this trap, exhausting themselves in battles that mean nothing. But silence is the refusal to surrender your power to chaos. It is a conscious decision to preserve your energy, sharpen your focus, and protect your inner peace. That preservation becomes strength, and strength is the foundation of transformation. When you practice silence, you cultivate clarity. The less noise you allow in your life, the clearer your vision becomes. You begin to recognize patterns, uncover truths, and identify opportunities that others cannot see. You learn to distinguish between what is essential and what is distraction. This clarity allows you to act with intention instead of reaction, to move with purpose instead of drifting with the currents of external influence. It allows you to focus on the goals that align with your true vision, to prioritize the actions that move you forward, and to conserve your energy for what truly matters. Silence is the lens that brings your life into sharp focus, revealing the path that leads to growth and mastery. Silence is also the ultimate test of courage. It is easier to respond, to defend, to fight, to explain yourself. But true courage is restraint. True courage is the strength to remain calm in the face of provocation, to withhold judgment when criticism comes, and to endure pressure without losing your center. Every moment of controlled silence strengthens your resilience. It trains your mind to remain steady when chaos surrounds you and your spirit to stay grounded when others are reactive. That resilience becomes invisible armor, a force that protects your focus, your energy, and your ability to create a life aligned with your purpose. Influence grows naturally through silence. The world is full of those who speak endlessly but achieve little. Influence belongs to those who act deliberately, speak with intention, and remain composed under pressure. When your words are chosen carefully and your reactions are measured, they carry weight. People listen, respect, and follow because they recognize strength without needing to hear it proclaimed. Silence allows you to command presence, to project authority, and to lead without relying on constant validation. The quiet mastery of your energy becomes a beacon that attracts respect, trust, and alignment with those who value what you truly bring into the world. Ultimately, silence is liberation. It frees you from the opinions, judgments, and expectations of others. Frees your energy for creation, growth, and achievement. It allows you to live life with intentionality rather than react to every distraction. Silence is not emptiness, it is empowerment. It transforms patience into clarity, restraint into strength, observation into insight, and focus into unstoppable forward momentum. The person who embraces silence becomes untouchable, purposeful, and unstoppable. Mastering silence is not just a skill. It is the pathway to mastery over yourself, your life, and your destiny. It is the foundation upon which extraordinary achievement is built, and a source of strength that no one can take from you. Silence is not a pause in life. It is a strategy for mastery. Every word you withhold, every reaction you choose not to give, is a step toward reclaiming control over your energy, your focus, and your destiny. Most people allow the chaos of the world to dictate their emotions, their actions, and their decisions. They react to every criticism, respond to every provocation, and argue in moments that demand nothing from them. But silence is the refusal to surrender to that chaos. It is the conscious choice to rise above, to conserve your energy, and to channel it toward what truly matters. That discipline creates power, and power shapes transformation. The practice of silence sharpens perception. When you are no longer consumed by the need to speak, defend, or react, you begin to notice what others miss. You see the intentions behind words, the patterns behind behavior, and the opportunities hidden within complexity. You learn to distinguish between the urgent and the important, between fleeting distractions and lasting impact. That clarity is the foundation of strategic action. It allows you to focus on the goals that truly define your purpose and to invest in the people, projects, and moments that elevate your life. Silence converts observation into insight and insight into results. Silence also strengthens resilience. Life will test you relentlessly. Through criticism, setbacks, betrayal, and provocation, the instinct to react is strong, but every moment you resist it, every moment you hold your composure, builds inner armor. The restraint trains your mind and your spirit to endure pressure without faltering. It makes you unshakable in the face of chaos. Your calm becomes your shield, your patience becomes your weapon, and your ability to maintain focus under stress becomes your advantage. Resilience, born from silence, is quiet yet unbreakable, and it positions you to handle any challenge with clarity and strength. The influence that silence brings is undeniable. People are drawn to those who are calm, composed, and intentional. The world is full of those who speak constantly but achieve little. True authority is demonstrated through discipline, presence, and measured action. When you speak only when necessary and act with precision, your words carry weight and your presence commands respect. Silence amplifies your influence by allowing your actions, results, and integrity to speak louder than empty noise ever could. It makes people listen, observe, and follow, not because of your volume, but because of your control. Finally, silence is freedom. Freedom from distraction, from unnecessary conflict, and from the demands of those who seek to manipulate your energy. It allows you to focus on what truly matters, your growth, your vision, your purpose. It frees your mind to think clearly, your heart to remain calm, and your energy to flow toward creation, achievement, and forward momentum. Silence is not emptiness, it is empowerment. It turns restraint into strength, observation into wisdom, patience into decisive action, and discipline into unstoppable momentum. The person who masters silence becomes the architect of their life, unshakable, purposeful, and unstoppable. Mastery over silence is mastery over self, and mastery over self is mastery over destiny. Silence is more than restraint. It is the declaration of control. Every word you hold back, every reaction you resist, signals to yourself and to the world that your energy cannot be wasted. Most people squander their strength on arguments that leave no lasting impact, on defending themselves against opinions that hold no truth, and on reacting to every provocation. They allow external chaos to dictate their emotional state, their focus, and their future. But when you choose silence, you reclaim everything. You reclaim your time, your energy, your attention, and your power. That reclamation becomes strength, and strength becomes transformation. The practice of silence enhances clarity. When you are not caught up in the need to respond, defend, or explain, your mind opens. You begin to notice what others overlook, to see the motives behind actions, the patterns behind behavior, and the opportunities that lie hidden beneath noise. You learn to distinguish between what is urgent and what is essential, between temporary distraction and lasting significance. Clarity allows you to act with precision, to focus on the steps that align with your vision, and to invest your energy in what will build your future. Silence turns perception into insight, and an insight into unstoppable action. Silence also cultivates resilience. The world will test you continuously with criticism, betrayal, setbacks, and provocation. Every instinct will push you to react, to defend, to prove yourself. Each time you resist that impulse, you strengthen your mind, your spirit, and your focus. Restraint trains you to endure pressure without losing composure, to maintain clarity in chaos, and to preserve your energy for the battles that truly matter. Resilience born from silence is not loud or visible, but it is unbreakable. It allows you to navigate life with unwavering calm, to rise above conflict, and to maintain authority over yourself and your path. The influence that emerges from silence is profound. People are naturally drawn to those who speak intentionally, who act deliberately, and who remain composed under pressure. While others chase attention, respect, and validation, the person who wields silence earns it effortlessly. Words become powerful when chosen with purpose, and presence becomes magnetic when it is disciplined. Silence magnifies influence by allowing actions, results, and integrity to speak louder than the noise around you. People observe, they respect, and they follow, not because of your volume, but because of your mastery over yourself. Ultimately, silence is freedom, freedom from distraction, from conflict, from the demands of those who seek to manipulate or provoke you. It allows you to invest your energy in creation, growth, and achievement. It provides clarity of thought, strength of purpose, and focus of intention. Silence is not absence, it is empowerment. It transforms restraint into strength, observation into wisdom, patience into decisive action, and discipline into unstoppable forward momentum. Mastering silence allows you to live life on your terms, guided by purpose rather than reaction, and defined by results rather than noise. It is the foundation of true self-mastery, the path to unshakable influence, and the source of unstoppable transformation. Silence is the ultimate expression of mastery over yourself. It is the decision to rise above impulses, to resist the temptation to react, and to preserve your energy for what truly matters. Most people spend their lives responding to every criticism, defending against every attack, and proving themselves to everyone around them. They drain their energy on conflicts that have no bearing on their purpose and allow chaos to dictate their emotional state. But silence is the refusal to give that power away. It is the conscious choice to remain in control, to focus inward, and to direct your energy toward building the life you want. In that control lies strength, and in that strength lies transformation. Silence sharpens your perception. When you stop reacting, you start seeing clearly. You notice patterns others miss, intentions that remain unspoken, and opportunities hidden within the noise. You learn to differentiate between what is urgent and what is essential, between distractions and the paths that lead to growth. That clarity allows you to act decisively and strategically, focusing your energy on the steps that move you forward instead of wasting it on battles that leave no mark. Silence is the lens that brings life into focus, allowing you to navigate with precision, insight, and unwavering purpose. It also cultivates resilience. Life will challenge you relentlessly through criticism, setbacks, betrayals, and provocation. The instinct to react is powerful, but every time you resist, you strengthen your mind, your spirit, and your focus. You train yourself to endure pressure without losing composure, to remain steady amidst chaos, and to conserve your energy for the battles that actually matter. That resilience becomes invisible armor, a quiet strength that protects your focus, preserves your peace, and allows you to navigate life with clarity and confidence. Silence magnifies influence. Those who speak constantly often lose authority, while those who act deliberately and speak with intention earn respect effortlessly. Words become powerful when measured, actions become magnetic when disciplined, and presence commands attention when grounded in control. Silence ensures that your energy is invested wisely and your impact is amplified. People observe, recognize, and respect your self-mastery. Influence is not forced. It is earned through composure, consistency, and the quiet power of restraint. At its core, silence is freedom. Freedom from distraction, from unnecessary conflict, and from the opinions and judgments of others. Freedom to focus on what builds your life, your vision, and your purpose. It is not emptiness, it is empowerment. Silence transforms patience into clarity, observation into wisdom, restraint into strength, and discipline into unstoppable momentum. The person who masters silence becomes untouchable, purposeful, and unstoppable. Mastery over silence is mastery over self. Mastery over self is mastery over destiny. Through silence, you cultivate the focus, clarity, and resilience needed to create a life defined not by reaction, but by deliberate, unstoppable forward movement.